Three. Hello and welcome to another edition of the C Squared Podcast. It's your host Curtis with my co-host Aaliyah, and today we are here with Reed from the band Osyron, and he's going to be talking with us for the next 30 minutes or so about his upcoming album. We're going to have a good time, and to start, thank you very much, Reed, for joining us.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
You're very welcome. So to start the proceeding, we're going to turn it over to Aaliyah.
Right. So diving right in, you guys just released pretty recently the music video for The Deafening. I wondered what was the inspiration behind that sort of oppositional vocal battle in the video?
Yeah. So the song itself obviously deals with, themes of internal struggles and doubt and, I guess facing your greatest critic and enemy, which is kind of yourself, right? I mean, I think for the majority of people, unless people are, I guess, very egotistical, then maybe not. But I think for the majority of us on the earth, I think that we are very critical of ourselves. So the themes and the lyrics and the vibe was very kind of like the feel I got from the song was kind of like, one of those video games like I don't know, Street Fighter or
Definitely
something where
gave
like
Street Fighter vibes, yeah.
yeah, very like you pick your enemy, you pick your opponent, and you go at it. And in this case, it's yourself. And when we were writing the song and coming up with everything, we were like, man, wouldn't this be a great song to have a featured vocalist, because it kind of is about duality and being against each other. And um, a big influence of mine, especially growing up in Western Canada, and a band that we all looked up to for a long time and still hold to a high regard, is Into Eternity. And Stu Block, who's now back in the band, was the lead singer of the band at the time. And we reached out to him, and luckily he got back to us. He enjoyed the song. He wanted to be a part of the song. And then we got him to track the parts. He absolutely killed it. It elevates the song to another level, and it really kind of blended everything together perfectly to create that duality and that internal struggle and strife. And then we got him we bought him a ticket, flew him out to Calgary, where we're based, and he filmed the music video. And so it literally everything came together perfectly. I don't know how the hell that happened, but it did. And I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to accept it and be cool with it. So it was great.
Yeah. Now, how much of that writing of the video was on your guys' side? Do you do that all yourselves, or did you kind of hire a director?
Yeah, so for that music video in particular, we worked with a guy named Seth Williams. I call him the Pistol from Bristol. He's from Bristol, England, and he lives in the mountains near our city, Calgary. He lives in a place called Canmore, and he's a phenomenal director. He directed and filmed our video Ignite off of our Foundations record, and yeah, we hit him up. We had a meeting with him and said, "This is what it's about. This is kind of the feeling." I threw some ideas at him regarding some of this stuff, but he just took all the information. He had his own thoughts. He compiled a great kind of story and theme and idea, and he just took care of everything. It was a great process, and we had an absolute blast.
I want to ask a different subject, if possible. Well, slightly
I was
different.
going to say, do you have a question about that?
Well, I have a slightly different question, which is basically I was kind of interested in knowing like how you guys are kind of handling the promotional aspect of things this time around versus your last time around. What has been the differences, other than a pandemic, obviously, that you've noticed with your promotion this time?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're a lot smarter. I mean, I think it goes hand in hand to say that we've evolved as musicians and as writers. So the music is a lot more complete and focused, and really kind of exemplifies and shows who we are and the direction we're going. So that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is, working with Stu, working with Percival out of Poland, who are on a couple of our tracks, The Deafening included. Really just helps with the promo, really just
Mm-hmm.
helps with kind of the promotion of everything. And then we got smarter with our promotional companies too, like who we were working with from a business standpoint, and who's handling what and sending things where and getting us in touch with the right people. So I think all of that together has really just kind of skyrocketed this band and this record, to a place that we think that we deserve to be at, because we think that our music and our professionalism and our sound should be there. Like, and we're starting to see some of that now, which is fantastic.
Yeah, you guys seem to be all over the place right now. So I don't know what you're doing differently, but whatever it is seems to be working well. Do you feel like there was anything specific that you got in those actions that really helped launch that? Like with the more like the omnipresence, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, again, just creating a team, that's one thing that we've learned in this industry is just creating a team of people who believe in you and want to get your stuff out there because they genuinely believe in what you're doing. And luckily for us, we have a manager who's been a fan of ours and has pushed us and really wanted us to be out there, be in people's faces all the time. And so that's been a huge part of it. And then also we're hungry people as a band, as bandmates. That's one thing I've learned about being in a band over the years and many years of being in bands is that if you have a focused direction and everyone's kind of going along the same path and regardless of who's agreeing or disagreeing with things, you meet in the middle and you keep going forward, you start to see that. You start to see, we're going all in on the social media presence, trying to get our stuff out there, trying to get in touch with the people that support us, and then also reaching out to and taking risks, like getting in touch with Stu or Percival and all that. So I think that again, all of those things together, it's not just one thing. I think just everything's just coming together, and we're just going full steam ahead, and we're starting to see that, and it's awesome.
Fair. And I got one more kind of follow-up-ish question before Leah goes into her next bit, which is basically how would you suggest that bands should get in touch with people like, for example, Stu? Like if you're looking to get a good guest musician on an album, how would you suggest they go about it without coming across as being a douchebag or anything like that? Because obviously you're going to be, most people want to reach out to someone more successful than them and has been around for a long time. So what is the right approach in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you can find their management, I mean, that's probably the
True.
easiest thing to do. The
True.
the issue with that too, though, is that sometimes the manager or the management might deem you or your product or your music not up to the same standard.
Yep.
So that might be kind of like the downfall of it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, whoops. I'd say just do your research, like do your research, try and find like um you know their contact information, and then just take a risk, reach out, because what's the worst that can happen? They say no. I
Yeah.
mean, we've had people say no to us all the time, and I'm sure everyone who's been in like our position or our level of being a band has been rejected. So just get used to
True.
that and then just keep reaching out.
True. Okay. I'm done my follow-up, Leah.
That was great. Yeah, being able to handle rejection and just getting used to it is so important if you're going to be advocating for yourself all the time. Um, I wanted to kind of go into the vocal aspect because um, I did listen a little bit to your back catalog, but mostly listened to the new album. And I noticed you have like quite a wide range of vocal techniques that you demonstrate, from like a clean ballad type singing to a more powerful singing and thrash type vocals. So can you shed some light on maybe your path as a vocalist and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, that's a great question, Aaliyah. Thanks very much. I think having influences that are diverse was a big part for me. Whether that be folk singers, rock singers, metal singers. Um, I mean, even as a younger guy, I listened to a lot of rap growing up. I mean, less and less as I got older, but definitely growing up in the 2000s. Um, and even some pop too. But I think the thing for me was listening to certain artists and singers and seeing if I could emulate it to begin with, and then just finding styles and genres that I was like, I want to be able to do that. I really want to be able to do the exact same thing, like a Stu Block, or like a Benji Webb from Skindred, or like a Daniel Hyman from Lost Horizon, or like some of these more like maybe not like the Bruce Dickinsons and Halfords and M Shadows and David Draymonds, but the guys who are super incredibly talented, that maybe don't aren't up at that same echelon or level. And so for me, I think the path to kind of allude back to your question, um, was I think I was doing some things wrong as a younger vocalist when it came to different styles. And I just focused in on my clean voice and trying to perfect my tone, my presence, how I was singing, how I was feeling, because feeling is a huge part of it. And then once I kind of felt like I'd gotten a hold of that and really found my voice that way, I felt a lot more free and open to explore the rest of the genres and styles that I've always been wanting to do and sing. And I'm still learning and I'm still trying new things. And I think that's going to show on future records that I'm a part of. Is it's always going to be me pushing myself to see where I can take my voice and what I can do.
I want to jump back in with another promotional question. I'm sorry, Aaliyah's the musician out of the two of us, as you can probably tell. So I was curious, like, you guys are currently selling CD and cassette for the new album. Is that correct, or did I miss vinyl?
Yeah. No, I believe that's it.
Okay.
No vinyl as of right now, but the goal would be eventually, hopefully, to get some vinyl out there for sure.
Cool. What brought the decision to do tape? I've heard a lot of differing opinions from bands on why they are doing tapes or why they aren't doing tapes. So I just kind of want to hear your viewpoint on it and why you guys did that.
No, I think it's a cool niche thing that's come back. I mean, I think you can also say too that when it comes to merch, especially something like CDs, like over the last 10 years that have become less and less, prominent and more obsolete within
Mm-hmm.
how we indulge and listen to music. Um, I think like the fact that vinyl's come back, and I'm a vinyl collector myself, and I love vinyl, and there's a lot of people that are into thrash, a lot of people that are into underground music, kind of throwing it back to the 80s that want to get into cassettes. So I think it's more of we're trying to give different avenues and different ways for people to indulge in our music, because the music is the art, but the medium of which you listen to it or indulge in it is varied, and there's so many different ways to do it. So why not try and utilize everything that's out there?
Totally. Is this your first time doing a tape, or you did it before?
No, I think we did do a special promo, like a special promo tape. Like I can't remember if it was for Foundations or Kings Bay. I know we've had it for sale at merch though.
Fair.
So it's not our first time, but I think this is where we're really trying to actually present it as like, hey, this is available versus just like a promo thing or like an
Yeah.
extra fun thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I get it. And then one final, well, not final, because I'm sure I'm going to have more later. But another question is just in terms of your sales, do you guys normally get more CDs nowadays, or is it digital? I've been hearing different things from bands lately.
uh well, I mean, I guess we see more of the CDs in general because it's a physical thing that we're shipping out.
Yeah,
But in regards to streaming or downloading, I mean, if you were to look at it from that aspect, if we were to combine both, I don't know. I assume that there's a lot more streams and downloads than there are CDs in general. But
fair.
we see a lot of CDs. But I mean, like we're in the middle of shipping out a bunch of shit right now. So I mean, I'm seeing it. Like I can go on our email and I can see all the orders and stuff. But um, yeah, I'd say that you know again, it's another way for people to support us, and it's another way for people to indulge. So I'd say probably more online, like streaming and downloading
Fair.
combined.
Yeah, yeah.
Combined. Yeah.
Actually, I do have one more follow up on this. I'm really sorry, Leah. Which
I
is
apologize. Fine.
uh, why do you think CDs have kind of fallen out of favor in general?
Uh, well, I mean, I think we've become less about um, like we're trying to have everything condensed into one platform. We've always been trying to do that as humans, trying to simplify everything, bring everything together, make it smaller. So the fact that everything's on your phone now, why the hell do you need a CD? I mean, I think if you're looking at indulging into a specific art, or in this case, music, depending on what you want to get from that. I mean, like for me, I was buying CDs up until about a year and a half ago, like nonstop,
Yeah.
to support the artists and to have like, you know, the lyrics and everything there that I can see. But I've also been buying vinyl, and then eventually once I got into streaming music like YouTube Music, which I prefer, in my opinion, is a
Same.
better streaming service.
Same.
Yeah. Um,
100% better.
yeah. Because you know, fuck those ads, right? Like that's just
Exactly.
so stupid, right? So
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, like for me, I still get vinyl, and I think that like vinyl maybe has become more of like, if I'm going to have something physical to listen to music on, I'm going to do something that's tangible, and it's something that I can see the you know, the needle go around the vinyl, and I can hold a bigger piece of art, and I can be a lot more a part of the physical process of that music.
Hmm.
Versus CD, it's digital. So if we're digital, why aren't we just doing it on our phones? I mean, I
Yep.
think that's kind of the concept of it, is like, what would you rather have? Buy a bunch of CDs and listen to it digitally, or just have it all on your phone and have even more of that music? So I think that's why CDs have just decreased and vinyl's
Yep.
gone up, I think.
Fair enough. Over to you, Leah.
Do you have plans to, or did I miss perhaps any of your releases coming out on vinyl?
Yes. So we would like to eventually release this record on vinyl. As of right now, there hasn't been a big demand for it. Now, granted, we haven't necessarily pushed that as much as we should have so far, at least. But if there's enough demand for it, we will definitely do it, because, again, for me, just being a person that collects vinyl, I think that's such a great way to indulge into a band and into their art. So, I mean, I'd like to, hopefully in the next year, with this record at least.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about, I mentioned this before we started recording, the instrumentation. I think my favorite track on the album actually is the eponymous song, Momentous. I think it just does everything that a long song needs to do to keep people's attention. It has a lot of movement and a lot of different sections. Um, Personally, I wanted to ask a little bit about the folk instrumentation and the vocals at the beginning. Are those actual vocalists, or is it
100%.
what
Yeah,
are
everything
they
you hear
saying
there
there?
is authentic. Everything you hear there is authentic. That's from Percival. They're the Polish folk bass band, um, and they did music for the video games, The Witcher 3. Like they're getting up there, eh? Like they got a good fan base, and have had some great success over the last decade. So everything you hear there is genuine. That is them. It is fucking fantastic. It is phenomenal. It is dope. And it just adds to the omnibus. Is that the right word? Omnibus?
Ambiance?
Ambience? Yeah. So yeah, it's just kind of like that whole mystique, that whole,
Atmosphere?
yeah, the atmosphere, everything like that. Like, it's just, it really just elevated that song, because they do play throughout that track as well in different sections, different moments. But that intro really just sucks you in, and then it just brings you right into, you know, what we do in the band, and what we're able to contribute. So it was awesome.
And was there other instrumentation throughout the album that wasn't them, or were they handling pretty much the non-metal instrumentation?
Yeah, I mean, acoustic guitars would have been us. All the vocals, I did, minus the group chants, which would have been the band itself, and then group vocals, I guess you could say, and then Percival and Stu. We do a lot of programming, like, so for instance, like our sound has shifted from strictly a lot of symphonic elements to also adding in some cool like ambient synth, cool kind of background tones and like layers and stuff. So we do a lot of that ourselves as well, but that's not necessarily like acoustic instruments. But yeah, everything that you hear on the songs like Anunnaki, The Deafening, Momentous, that's Percival. It's freaking awesome. And then we throw in our own layers and whatever throughout the songs as well.
Can I ask a final question here,
Go
Aaliyah?
ahead. Yeah.
Cool. We should talk about your upcoming tour dates because I saw, I think it was five or six, mainly Western Canada, if I'm not mistaken. I think you went as far as Winnipeg. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say is yeah, you're correct. It's everywhere from Vancouver to Winnipeg right now.
So why did you stop in Winnipeg? Like, why not Ontario? Number one.
Um, well, I don't know how it is in Chicago there, Leah, but as we all know, it gets pretty cold and snowy and shitty.
Winter is coming.
It's coming.
Winter's coming.
It
Yeah,
is
it's
coming.
true. Yeah, so for us to even just with a later year release
Yeah,
in November, we wanted to make sure that we could hit up as many dates as we could before it got too crappy, and then Christmas time.
fair.
We are planning on doing more dates in the new year, come spring and summer and stuff. Um, not just in Canada, but hopefully in the States and or Europe. Um, so it was just kind of like a thing that like let's just hit the road. I think we've got 8 shows now, if I'm not mistaken, 7 or 8 shows right now, and I think it's gonna slowly climb up to 10 just before the end of the year, just so that we can have some dates along Western Canada, because that's where we're from, and you know what, you gotta start where you're at, and Alberta, British Columbia, all the way to Manitoba. Um, and plus I'm originally from Winnipeg, so
Ah,
it's a little bit selfish for me too because I get to go there and see some family and friends and stuff. So it's a good
now
time.
it makes sense. I get it now. I get it.
Yeah.
One other question I just had about the tour dates is how come you guys are only doing Vancouver for BC instead of some other places?
Well, we are doing Cranbrook. We are
Oh, I
doing
didn't see
Cranbrook,
that.
British Columbia. Yeah, I saw some um, uh, posts from the publicists and stuff that I think accidentally put Cranbrook under Alberta,
Oh,
which might have been the confusion there.
uh,
But yeah, it's just again a lot of last minute stuff. Again, because of COVID, there's so many backed up shows and dates and stuff. To even get into some of these venues was a really tough haul for us just because so many people have been booked up for months and months and months. So
yeah,
um, in the springtime, come March, April, it's looking a lot more open for us to hit more dates, more towns, more cities throughout Canada, and
fair.
then hopefully within the States and Europe as well.
Cool. I think that's all I got for questions. I know we're running out of time. So, Leah, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I had like
A
10
zillion?
more questions that were
Yeah,
a little
fire
more
fire them
adjacent.
on.
Eh, I don't know. I don't know really. They're topics. I don't know how to phrase them into quickly answerable questions. So I'm just going to ask one that you mentioned earlier, actually having some pop influence. What is your favorite, or who are your favorite pop artists?
Ooh, pop, pop, pop. Well, I'd say for sure, like listening to like Michael Jackson, just like the melodies and his singing style for sure
Sure.
was
Yeah.
up there. Like I'm not necessarily, and again, when I say pop, I'm not like an avid pop listener.
Well, I wouldn't expect that. No.
Yeah, but man, like whenever there's a song by him, and I do have like I do have like Bad on vinyl, and like I have listened to his discography, and obviously Thriller and all that stuff. But just again, like listening to him, like I remember when he got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I know that there's been a lot of like because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has just gone to shit in regards to who they induct and their whole process and whatever. But I remember when he got inducted, and people were like, "Oh, why are you inducting Michael Jackson?" And I just remember sitting there saying, "Well, he's a fucking rock vocalist, man. Like if you listen to his tone, and especially like his
That helps.
compression, yeah, yeah, like his range." So I'd say him for sure. But then I say also with pop, if you go back to the '80s, I'd say there's a lot of artists like I don't know Peter Gabriel when he went more kind of like I know he's creative and he's a lot more kind of proggy, but he went pop. Phil Collins went kind of pop. Like even though they're incorporating these prog elements and these creative elements, it's still pop. Um, so and I'm sure there'd be more popping into my mind, but I think it's more of the pop accessibility, like the melody. It's the same thing that Kurt Cobain talked about when he did Nevermind, is that he really wanted to create more poppy, hooky, accessible melodies on top of this aggressive, in your face punk that came out of Seattle. You know, so for me, it's like I'm in a progressive metal band, you know, that incorporates different layers of heaviness and symphonic elements and tones. It's like I want to come in there and I want to add in some elements that are not necessarily poppy, but I want to add in some hooks and accessibility with it because I've always just gravitated towards that. I've always just gravitated towards what pop brings in regards to their songwriting and their style. If that answers your question at all, I don't know if it does.
Totally. Yeah, it was just meant as a fun question, but it's interesting because when you mentioned that, it does make me think of the record that you guys made. There were a lot of moments where I felt like, oh yeah, I could totally hear this on the radio. This is accessible. This is catchy. Like just a lot of moments like that throughout the record. So I really think you succeeded in implementing that without sacrificing any artistic integrity. So
Oh,
good job
thank
with
you very
that.
much. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say.
For sure. Curtis, anything before we wrap this up? We're out of time for today, but everyone make sure to go check out the Osyron singles that are out right now. Anunnaki and The Deafening. Was there another one I missed? Just those two?
Yeah, Anunnaki, The Deafening, Beyond the Sun, and Dominion Day.
All right.
So
Check out all those
almost
songs.
half the record. Almost half the
Yeah.
record.
Nice.
But still a lot of great songs that are not out yet on the album that's coming out soon. So make sure to check them out. Thank you so much for coming on, and everyone listening. Until next time, make like a bull and throw those horns up.